With the announcement of Armored Core 6, interest in the series has been reinvigorated. Longtime fans and newcomers alike eagerly await for the quintessential mecha game to return, hopefully, bigger, better, and cooler. The whole gaming sphere has its eyes on From Software, two-time Game of the Year recipient, and vehicle for a legion of passionate fans that delight in whatever experience they bring to the table. And so I thought now would be a great time to start looking back in retrospect and appreciate everything that came to define Armored Core, starting from the very first game. Today I'll give you, beginner-level Ravens, 7 tips that might help you out on your first foray as mercenaries, starting with. In Armored Core you have the ability to strafe to the left or right, usually by utilizing the L1 and R1 buttons respectively. Since Ravens are piloting what are effectively borderline unwieldy giant robots, finding ways to quickly shift momentum during combat, be it to cut corners, go into the cover, or quickly dodge incoming fire is absolutely crucial. Strafing not only increases your evasion and maneuverability, but it also ties in with the next tip on the list. It's not a surprise that ACs have their own dedicated part slot for boosters that are responsible for most of the mech's locomotion, especially when it comes to speedy maneuvers and air time. What might not be immediately apparent is just how effective employing a bunny hop strategy might be. By combining strafe and timing your boosters just right in regular intervals, a Raven is able to achieve a very efficient way to keep their AC near top speed at very little energy costs. It might be counterintuitive at first, but this is definitely a trick you will want to master, and will eventually become second nature. While Armored Core offers a great selection of enemies, levels, and ways to demolish anything you might encounter during a mission, the true ingenuity of a Raven is only proportional to their skills in the garage. Tweaking and managing resources to build the perfect AC for the job is half the fun, but this isn't a given. Parts never come without a cost, and while you are able to make good use of the shop to regain value for that old weapon you don't plan to use anymore or that radar you find obsolete, it is important to always keep an eye out on your finances. Especially since it is possible to incur debt even if you succeed in your missions, as repair, ammo, and special collateral damage costs are always a factor in your report card. Remember, your credits are your lifeline. Lifeline as they might be, a Raven has to be resourceful, so coming hand in hand with credit management comes saving. The first game isn't nearly as remarkable in the difficulty department as the future installments would prove to be, but it still is nonetheless difficult at times, and seeing that it's not that hard to go into debt and limit the number of choices you have, it would be in your best interest to utilize the memory card to its fullest, lest you would need to sell something you might regret to be able to beat the game. One might say you would have to become something more, plus, if you will. So, save a lot, save often. There is a surprising amount of exploring and discovering to do as you go through the various missions laid out to you by the corporations. Some of the areas you have to traverse can be quite confusing and weird to navigate through, and sometimes it's not that clear to understand how, and where enemies might be. So one solid piece of advice would be to not skip purchasing parts with radar and auto map features, preferably a 2-in-1 if possible, just saying. If you ever go around browsing the shop for a cool new back-mounted grenade launcher, only to try it out in action and realize it makes you a giant sitting duck, then fear not, because you are able to make use of traditionally stationary weapons on the move by equipping quad legs or tank treads to your AC, unlocking a whole new way of playing around with those sorts of builds. If you think bipedal mechs simply look cooler, then you could always go plus. But that's a secret I'll let you find out yourself, maybe. For the final tip, buy optional parts. Optionals might look quite inconsequential on the surface, but some of these are actually very helpful. I would personally recommend you at least get the SPCNDK, as it improves your energy output significantly, letting you get more use out of energy weapons and boosters. But perhaps most importantly, do not be afraid to change things around, experiment and have fun, design horrible ACs and give them a try. Since you're saving often, you can just load back up and have another go. You'll find most of the magic happens in the menus, and hopefully, you'll realize just why when you become a Raven, it's a lifetime commitment. Have a good one, comms out.